Autism is a spectrum disorder, and it can have the presence of an intellectual disability. Let's talk about the DSM-5 for autism spectrum disorder and profound autism. If someone is profoundly autistic, it includes the presence of an intellectual disability, they require supervision, and they have adaptive functioning challenges, unable to take care of themselves, unable to protect themselves, unable to make their own decisions, unable to avoid self-harm behavior. Diagnosis for autism spectrum disorder in the DSM-5 includes deficits in social communication. So let's look at this from a profound perspective. If we find someone having deficits in social communication, not interacting with people, nonverbal, stuck inside their own head, low back and forth conversation, maybe somebody will be able to copy what you say, but they're not going to start a conversation. They're not going to respond to their name. They're not going to call you by name. They're not going to ask you a question. They're not going to answer a question the way that you think that they should. Failure to respond appropriately in social situations. They can't sit down at church. They can't sit in a classroom all day at school. They can't work a 9-to-5 job. Deficits in nonverbal communication, reduced facial expressions, reduced expressiveness, reduced tone of voice, inability to respond or react when something happens. You got a birthday present, look surprised, or, it's picture day, smile for the camera. Deficits in developing, maintaining, and understanding relationships. Not being able to make friends, not being able to keep friends, not being able to play appropriately with their peers, limited interest in their peers, sometimes even limited interest in the world altogether. Restricted repetitive behavior is the other part of the autism spectrum diagnosis. So when we're thinking about this from a profoundly autistic perspective, we need to think about this with the presence of an intellectual disability. There's challenges in decision making, challenges in level of independence, deficits in relationships, and reasoning, ability to understand what's going on around them, ability to understand context, understanding and processing how to keep yourself safe, or what makes the difference between an adult and a child. This is why you'll see some people with autism in extended school programs. They are not able to enter the workforce. They're not able to live independently. They're not able to go to college. So what happens when a person that's been in special education for 12 years of schooling graduates? Everybody else graduates. There's not that progression. There's not going to be that graduation and that level of independence in a person that has profound autism. Repetitive movements or speech. Stimming behaviors with hands, with feet, stomping with their head, with their fingers, with their mouth, with their facial expressions. Stimming behaviors, repetitive. In speech, repeating something that they've heard, playing something over and over again, making you say something, not being able to tolerate it if you are not responding in the regimented way that they're expecting. Distress is caused by change. If your routine changes, if the schedule changes, going from the school year to summer break, going from the week to the weekend, going from mom's house to dad's house, whatever transition looks like, going from brushing your teeth to changing into your pajamas, that can all cause such extreme distress, that transition, that change, lack of predictability, and lack of autonomy in that situation. You are submitting to either your body's own demands or the demands of someone else, and someone with profound autism is not going to do that. Preoccupations with unusual objects, maybe objects that don't align with the person's chronological age, like someone still watching kids program or playing with children's toys or wearing children's clothes, whatever, having those interests in someone that would typically be associated with someone who is younger. Special interests get involved in this as well. And this is where we see, especially with profound autism, there are such clear deficits. Someone on the street that knows nothing about mental health can look at that and say, oh, there's something wrong with that person. They have something. There's something going on with them. And this is where that special ability gets. Because if somebody is that dysfunctional in a neurotypical standard as an adult, if they do have an area that is functioning or maybe functioning better than normal, that is their talent, that's their gift, that's their ability. And you see this, with math or with drawing or with language learning or computers, technology, sports, whatever that person, animals, whatever that person's special interest is, gets elevated in the perception of normal society because look at how deficit they are in these other areas. We place such a high value on social communication, on relationships, on normal behavior, on being able to comply with the culture around you. And if somebody who's profoundly autistic is not able to do that, they are labeled as stupid, incompetent, worthless. The discrimination against profoundly autistic people, especially as there is more conversation around the autism spectrum disorder and how varied the disorder looks with different levels of functioning. Is there an intellectual disability? What is the person's cognitive level of functioning? What's the person's IQ? What is their social functioning? What's the environment that they grew up? What are the societal factors that we're seeing? Gender, age of diagnosis, race, socioeconomic status. Those all affect whether or not someone ever or gets diagnosed with autism early. Early intervention helps, especially in cases of profound autism. And sensory behavior. Sensory avoidant behavior. Some people with autism are sensory avoidant. And you have to think about this. If someone is profoundly autistic, they have a language disability. They are not communicating with the same level of effectiveness that other people can. So you have heightened sensory sensitivities, reduced ability to communicate, reduced ability to express yourself through words or in ways that someone will understand. So maybe that thing that you would brush off as a light disturbance to your sensory body, if you can't stop it, you can't communicate it, you can't control it, yeah, I bet that tag itching at the back of your neck does drive you crazy. Loud noises and strong smells are the same way. If you are a person who's profoundly autistic, extremely sensitive to the environment around you, and you go out and everybody's in cologne and perfume and deodorant and laundry detergent, and you can't even say that that's what's going on. You are just reprimanded anytime you display that you are sensitive to that input. Sensory seeking behavior is the same way. Somebody running into a wall, somebody bashing their head on the wall, somebody stomping, somebody punching, somebody laying on someone else, somebody wanting a really tight hug. All those things that are so seen as so off-putting because the person with profound autism is not able to be like, hello, I like deep pressure sensation on my body and it helps me regulate my system. And when I feel more regulated, I'm able to communicate more clearly and look you in the eye and discuss my interests or whatever. That small amount of relief provides for a profoundly autistic person. If they're not able to communicate how to get that relief, those patterns of being misunderstood and removed from everyone else become glaringly apparent. And it doesn't have to be this way. And autism is a very broad diagnosis that encompasses many different types of people. That's one of the things that makes it so useful, is like you can look at large patterns of relationships, communication, and behavior and understand a lot about a neurotype of person. Every person with autism is different, and depending on the level and their support needs, influences a person. It influences a person. And every person, regardless of their diagnosis, deserves to be treated like a person with independence and autonomy and respect and accommodation for the things that they specifically need, even if it's not what you need.